welcome to today's show. We got a special guest for you. He is from Burnsville, Minnesota. He played one season there for Burnsville High School, one season for the Tri-Town Thunder, two for the Fort Wayne Federals, and three for Waldorf College. Welcome to the show, SJ3, also known as Spencer Johnson.
There goes that man's jockstrap. Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports.
There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
Hey, I'm doing well. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, dude. No problem. Glad this worked out and we found time to get her done. So,
yeah, a couple corrections right off the bat. I actually played 2 years at Burnsville High School and then 4 years at Waldorf College.
I was just
my hockey DB must not be up to date.
Yeah, I was going off the hockey DB, so that's hockey DB fucked up. So,
So yeah, just kick things off here. Give us a little background where you're from, how you grew up with hockey, and we'll just kind of start with that.
Yeah, so from Burnsville, Minnesota, grew up going to the rink a lot as I had 3 older brothers and an older sister that actually played hockey. So we actually had 5 kids in hockey at one time, and I'm the youngest of 5. So played a lot of hockey, was at the rink a lot of the time. I remember being out in the cul-de-sac with my brothers and, you know, making a pass to my brother for the game winner in game 7 or whatever we're playing. And they all surrounded me. I thought I was the, best thing, but just growing up with it all around. And I've been skating since I was, 2.5. And I played Burnsville all the way growing up. I never made an A team though. Squirts, Pee-wees, Bantams, never played on the A team. I worked really hard, got a lot better, and then junior year, I finally cracked the varsity roster as a defenseman, which my whole career I kind of pinged back and forth, and that didn't end even through college. But then I went up to Canada for a year and played, junior B up there. Tried out for a junior A team in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, also known as the SJHL. And then went over to the Prairie Junior Hockey League, which is the Saskatchewan's Junior B League. And that year we made it to the North Final. We lost to the Saskatoon Royals in a 7-game series. It was 4-1. And then I also the next year went to Fort Wayne, and that's where I met one of the co-hosts, Austin Allard here. And I played there for 2 years. And then I went to Waldorf for 4, majored in communications, so doing stuff like this. And then I played hockey for 4 years as well and had a very successful career there. I actually led my team in points one year as a defenseman. So and I bounced back forward in D there as well. I mean, it just never stopped there. But as I told my coach, wherever the team needed me is where I'll be, whatever puts the team in the best position to win. Cause I mean, that's how everyone's attitude should be.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about growing up in Minnesota, playing high school hockey in Minnesota, how surreal is that? Like they sell at the Xcel Energy Center for their state tournament. It's basically like the pros over there. Was there any kids that were at your high school that were like big time name guys?
Well, we had a guy by the name of Charlie Mosey who played at Dartmouth. And then he ended up bouncing over to, I believe it was the English Pro League, one of the pro leagues in Europe. I guess I'm not totally sure, but I know he played a year or 2 over there. And then, so he was really good, but, Bloomington Jefferson, right across the Minnesota River north of us, in Bloomington, there was, Caleb Herbert, Joe Faust, who they made a Bauer commercial out of. They made the Bauer commercial out of him going bar down against us in the section quarterfinal. So he toe drags 2 guys, goes bar down, and they make a Bauer commercial out of it. But what an unbelievable talent that guy was. I mean, he made the play of a lifetime. I mean, I remember it to this day. It was that good of a play. So, but yeah, a lot of big name guys. Caleb Herbert played at UMD. It was kind of surreal, like seeing these guys play when you're not playing against them. You see their talent and the skill that goes into it. And just even watching this guy, Caleb Herbert, on draws, I was like, this guy he's dialed in. He knows what he's doing. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, very competitive. Any team can win any given night. You know, you got your lower end teams, but sometimes they surprise you. You know, you gotta be at your best, especially when you're in the top 10. You know, and Let's Play Hockey, they rank the top 20 high school AA teams and the single A teams. Well, we were top 10 in the AA. So I mean, anytime you're in the top 10, people are, you know, licking their chops to get a piece of you.
For sure. So then let's move past your high school career. You said you played one season up in the Prairie Junior Hockey League. What was the experience like playing up in Canada, away from home at such a young age? How was that sort of atmosphere and experience for you?
Oh, it was great. I mean, the people in Saskatchewan, they're great people. I still got friends up there to this day, and they definitely they take you in and make you feel like you're at home. So it was a fantastic experience. I will say the hockey's a little bit tougher. My first ever exhibition game, I actually fought a native guy on the other team. He was about my size. And I told one of the guys on the bench, I'm like, yeah, if I go out there again, I'm fighting if someone talks to me smack, right? And all of a sudden this native guy comes up to me, he's like, you want to go? And before I had, you know, yeah out of my mouth, he already had my helmet ripped off and he's punching me in the face. But then so we're trading bows and we both fall to our knees. Well, we kind of picked each other back up like this, you know, off each other's knees, and then start throwing again. And the crowd was just going wild. It was in Prince Albert, which, you know, had a lot more fans than we did. But it was an epic experience. I'm walking on the rink with this giant black guy. I remember my coach saying, he's like, you know, some guys get a fighter. So that wasn't my going forward, but I did drop the gloves a few times.
So then let's move past your year in Canada where we met for the first time. I believe that was in Madison, Wisconsin. I think it was at a skate. I believe, right? That was for the Oregon Spartans, correct?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And I believe it was Medford, Wisconsin, which was kind of weird because it was Medford, Oregon, where we were going to play for the actual team. So it was kind of interesting there. But yeah, it was Medford, Wisconsin. We're playing at that rink. My dad and I went out there. I met you there, and it was a good skate. You know, we're trying out for the Southern Oregon Spartans. And then we really kind of solidified our friendship when we went out to Southern Oregon to, you know, try out. And you remember being on the track and doing all the dry land drills and, you know, the preseason stuff. I mean, those are good
Whitewater rafting.
Yeah, White River rafting on that. I forget what river that was called, but that was an awesome time. It was beautiful scenery too.
Yeah.
You got up on either side, the mountains coming into this river, super cool.
Yeah, that was surreal. So then let's dive into that whole experience there. So we both met each other, like we said, for the Oregon Spartans. We ended up going out west. Was a short little stint. I think it was like 30 days we were out there.
I think it was 8 days. It was
8 days?
Quick. Yeah, we got out pretty quick.
Well, I just remember we did the whole training camp, and then there was another week that we were there that we did like the whitewater rafting and all that stuff. And then the second week was like all like the workouts and stuff. Remember, we were doing all like the workouts on the track. That's when we were on the track. And then we had those games that weekend. And then that's kind of that following week when like people were supposed to get ready for like getting ready for practices and shit. That's when I believe that it happened.
Yeah, we got traded at about that time. Yeah. And then we drove across country together. Allard went the wrong way into California first. So we had to go south and then make our way all the way back towards Indiana. And we finally got there. And then Southern Oregon actually wanted us back, but we said no because, you know, it was one of those things where I was going to have to get a ride to the airport and I was already set in. I liked the Fort Wayne family. We had a good team. Cody Hess came back, who was a stud, and he should have been playing in the North American Hockey League,
if not the USHL.
But, yeah, if not that, for sure. So, and then, you know, we go to Fort Wayne and we had a good team there, so we just stayed put, and we had a good year too, and we made it to nationals. But that whole play-in game and they have a play-in game. So you have to play, 2 of the leagues had to play a game to get into the actual national tournament. But the problem with that is some leagues got more bids than others. So it's kind of a messy deal, but that's tier 3 juniors for you. If you
Politics right there.
Yeah, right.
So just kind of listening to, I guess, your journey so far. You're starting high school, you go up to Canada, you come back down to Wisconsin, you're out in Oregon. What was it like, A, balancing that with just like your regular life, and 2, you're still young, like you're still doing stuff kids trying to do, you're growing up. How did you manage that balance of going out of the country, coming back, going across the country, stuff like that? Just because not a lot of sports really require you to do that, where really for a lot of them, you stay in the same county for X amount of years before you take that next level at maybe the collegiate level. Yeah, just talk about how it was managing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the toughest thing, which I would probably tell myself not to worry about these days, would be the women back home situation, stay in a relationship while you're, playing hockey. That was kind of it probably will end, the close quarter on. So if any young hockey players are listening today, I would say, don't worry about that. Build yourself and your stature as a man. But the other thing is I had a great experience. I mean, I was going up to Saskatchewan and people were kind to me, like these people were really nice to me. They took me 4-wheeler riding in deep woods, Saskatchewan. I saw a moose on my 4-wheeler, a moose cow and her calf running, and we were riding up, beside them. The White River rafting in Oregon. I mean, I got to see a lot of the country by playing hockey. I got to see a lot of Canada playing hockey. So I really enjoyed the experience, but it was tough being away from home. I always thought that I was missing out on something at home. But now I realize, as more of a man, that I wish I would have suppressed those feelings, because life at home is just people working and doing normal people stuff. It's not really all that exciting is what I found out once I got home and started to, dive into my career at Verizon. I work for Verizon as a sales representative now. So, I mean, now that I realize just the life of someone who's working, it's not as exciting, and where you're at is better than where they are, playing hockey around the world.
Yeah, one big thing too that I always thought, as well as like the whole traveling thing, is the group of people. Like you, for instance, we became like best buddies, and we really we went through a lot of shit, dude. Like that was a big emotional roller coaster of all that what we went through, and it's just like to have you there, and then we convinced Cody to stay. It was like we kind of built our own new little family really quick. And like you said, dude, I couldn't imagine of leaving Fort Wayne. We became such a tight knit family with those guys, right off the jump. It was really cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time in Fort Wayne, and I love all those guys to this day. I mean, I was in Florida, in Fort Myers, Florida, visiting a buddy 3 weeks ago, and got on a FaceTime call with one of my buddies who actually, this is a crazy story. So my buddy moves down to Florida. I moved him down there 3 years ago. He's working at this random golf course in Fort Myers, and he's talking to this chef, and he's like, hey, do you know Minnesota? He's like, yeah, I know Minnesota. He's like, where are you from in Minnesota? He's like, oh, I'm from Burnsville. And he's like, oh yeah, my buddy Spencer Johnson is from Burnsville. And he's like, that's my best friend. Spencer Johnson. Spencer, he played on my Fort Wayne on there. They're golfing all the time together, and they're really good friends. Grew up with him right up the street, was swimming in his pools, stayed a lot of summers at his house, who was basically best buddies with one of my buddies from Fort Wayne now, which, he's a chef at the same random golf course my buddy's working at. But yeah, to this day, I still talk to those guys, and I really appreciate all of them. Cody Hess, still talk to him all the time about life, finance, family. I mean, stuff that you guys, talk to your buddies about. And, we all talk about it to try to put ourselves ahead and be smart in this life, because you got to be strategic these days. I mean, you can't just go willy-nilly. But really appreciated my time out there. But like you said, there was no option for me staying. It was like, I'm set here. I just had the right feeling of staying. And it was a little bit of a culture shock going from Southern Oregon, West Coast feel, all the way to the, back to the Midwest, but a different feel of the Midwest than Minnesota. I think people think that the Midwest is kind of small, but it's pretty expansive. There's a lot of different area in there.
Yeah, dude, Fort Wayne, it was different. It's kind of like they had the big city feel and the country feel.
Yeah, and it was right next door to each other.
So then after junior career wraps up, you ended up at Waldorf. How did you end up there, and how was that experience? You said you played 4 years for him.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed my time at Waldorf, and basically I went to the showcase in Rochester, Minnesota, the same place where Nationals was, but it was when the Minnesota Junior Hockey League and the Great Lakes Junior Hockey League merged. Minnesota Owls, and we were down 3-0 going into the third period. I come into the locker room with a water bottle, and I throw the fastest fastball I've ever thrown into the wall, and this thing just busts into a million pieces because I was so upset. We weren't playing well, and we weren't. It was a lack of effort, not a lack of talent, which that's what really drives me mad. And I knew that I was a leader on the team. I was a 20-year-old. We ended up coming back and winning that game 4-3. Brendan Lewis had a hat trick. And then after the game, this coach Shalansky wants to talk to me, and I go out, and he's got his Waldorf jacket on, and I'm thinking, who is Waldorf? I've never even heard of him, and then all of a sudden it started to be a serious prospect. I went down there that summer to go visit the school and tour the school. Really enjoyed my experience there. Went and checked out the rink in Albert Lee. It was like, this is a nice setup because the Minnesota Thunder used to play there, and they were an NA team. Well, Waldorf, once they folded, Waldorf took over their locker room, the setup, all that stuff. So they had a nice locker room, ping pong table, bar in there, hangout area. So it was impressive for a, D2 club hockey team. And then my first game at Waldorf was against Iowa State, where we just got absolutely handed it to, just destroyed. I think it was like 8-1. Granted, they had been playing together for like a month and a half, and they were a bunch of, BCHL, AJHL, SJHL guys. And we were a lot more tier 3 guys that had been playing together for 2 weeks, So it was like, yeah, they had the advantage, but really good experience there. And I mean, we made it to regionals every single year. We never got out of regionals to the big dance nationals in college, but even my last year, Lindenwood University scored with 2 minutes left to win 4-3. I had a goal and an assist in the game, played well, but I mean, it's one of those things. Hockey's a funny game. It's a balance here. It's a balance there. It's an art, not a science, if you will. And then getting the education piece too. I mean, I had a lot of fun doing that. I definitely am a person who didn't totally fall in line with all the schooling as far as, listening to everything and following the beat of the drum of the professors too much, but I had fun and everyone respected me, and it was a great time. And the other thing that I really am proud of myself for, I was a student ambassador, and I started to give tours for the school. I mean, that really helped me be a really good salesman at Verizon, because I knew how to show people things, and it gave me an opportunity to expand my skill set. And that's another thing that to any younger hockey player watching this, don't just be good at hockey. Like, yes, train in hockey, be good at it, be really good at it, and put your heart and soul in it if that's what you want to do. But be good at other things too, because there is life outside the rink, and I feel like a lot of hockey players are only good at hockey. You need to develop skills and be a well-rounded person. Be able to speak, be able to write, be able to have those skills to where if hockey doesn't work out for you, you can still make some money and put bread on the table for your family, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of quick circling back to the education side of things when you're at Waldorf, for the other folks we've had on the show here to kind of talk about their college experience while balancing a sport, being a student athlete. There's always that stigma of, oh, they take the easiest classes, some classes are made up for them. I guess just kind of dive into that a little bit as far as the balance between playing hockey and being a student. Was it a little easier for you because you were in hockey, or did you have to bust ass just as hard and at sometimes it was difficult to keep up?
Yeah, it was definitely tough to keep up. I would say my experience is gonna be a lot different than any of theirs, just because I went to Waldorf, where you got 600 students, 90% athletes. So really, everyone's kind of in the same boat. Everyone's going to school during the day, is practicing at nights. That's no unique experience for anyone. I will say the unique experience for us was we had a 45-minute bus ride to the rink for practice and home from the rink for practice. So a lot of people would think that's a negative. I actually turned it into a positive. I just used it to study my notes, to talk with the boys, hang out, and really just enjoy my time there. I feel like people want to rush things too much. We live in such a fast-paced world that people want to rush things and they don't stop to enjoy. I'm just on the bus with my boys. I got, 20 hockey players. I can talk to any of them. I can have a great time. But yeah, it was one of those things where for me, the student part was what I had to do. The hockey's what I wanted to do. So I kind of used that mentality. I made the dean's list a couple times. I got good grades, but Waldorf is kind of structured in a manner where you don't really get to get out of classes, or you don't get to take an easy route, because it's not that hard of a school, to be honest. It's really not, as long as you show up. If you're not showing up to your classes, though, the professors aren't going to give you any benefit of the doubt in that regard. But if you're showing up and you're trying, they work with you, which is really nice. So I was fine. I was involved in a lot of extracurriculars and just, took it upon myself to do well. But definitely a different experience than most people. Being at even that small of a school, 600 students, that's one of the smallest schools in the nation.
Yeah, there's high schools bigger than that.
Yeah,
My high school.
Not where I went, but I know they exist.
Well, yeah, my graduating class in high school was 800 students. That's my graduating class, let alone all the students in the entire school at Waldorf is 600. That's wild.
Yeah, that is wild. So you're talking about some good experiences, great experiences. In Waldorf, speaking how tiny it was, did you guys get after it on the weekends? And also did you guys take buses to every single game, or did you guys ever fly?
Yeah, we did both. We flew once. So we went down to to go back to Fort Myers, Florida. We went down and played FGCU, which FGCU's got a good setup. So any young hockey players, again, if you're watching, look to FGCU, because they play all home games. They fly teams in. They pay for their hotel and their buses to offset the cost, but they don't play away games. They only go to nationals every year. So how good of a setup is that? And then you got the Everglades right there, Everblades in the ECHL, who play right there at the same rink down in Fort Myers. So that's a good setup. So we flew once, but mostly bused. And, we went to the UP, we went to, Michigan, we went to, Detroit, we went to St. Louis, we went to Illinois a lot. We were kind of all over the place. So at Wisconsin, we played Oshkosh, Wisconsin, who's a good team. They were in our conference, but yeah, we bussed a lot, and we got around pretty good. But yeah, it was more, we only flew once from what I remember.
Do you have any legendary stories from college? Any good ones?
Well, one of my
or was it not as crazy as in the junior days?
No, it was. We definitely got after that on the weekends, but we usually played Friday, Saturday. So Saturday nights were big for parties, and then we also did Monday night parties. which I remember I was an RA, a resident assistant, but I'd go and I'd take my car because you had to do rounds to go check on the houses. So during my rounds, I'd go to the party and, like take a beer bong and then go back and be an RA. And, but one of my captains, he got super hammered one night and he's walking home. And one of the Forest City police officers found him laying face down in a snowbank, and it's like -30 out. And so he grabs him, puts him in the drunk tank, and he had to deal with all the court hearings and all that. I actually dealt with the court when I was in college because I got a speeding ticket, and I took it to trial just to basically be a pester, and because that's the kind of guy I am.
That's you.
Totally. So I took it to trial, and the prosecutor this is a small town. So the prosecutor is a professor for criminal justice at the college. So all my buddies are going to his classes, and I'm in the courtroom dominating him, like calling Brady violations and basically things that most people haven't even heard of, right? And just running amok. And I got 50 people had to show up for a speeding ticket. I'm just like, but here's the thing. To be fair to myself, I went into the prosecutor and I said, hey, man, I'm a college student. I don't have a lot of money. Can we do half? Can we make a deal here? Can you cut me any kind of break, right? He's like, that's not really something we do here. All right, then. Well, me just paying the money isn't something we do here either. One of my teammates got called to the stand and was wearing a suit, and I'm wearing a suit with the Waldorf pin because I was a student ambassador. And it was an interesting experience for sure. But that was one of those things where you're a little nervous. And then they were like, yeah, we're going to come out with the results. Do you want to say? I was like, nah, I'm good. I got to get back to class. I just left. I didn't even hear them read the guilty verdict or whatever,
You end up having to pay?
Nope, never paid them. They send me bills all the time. I just throw them in the trash. Not paying them.
That a boy.
Yeah, not doing it. When you decide something in life, you got to stick to it, right? I decided I wasn't going to pay him. I wrote a motion saying I'll do community service. I'll pay my debt to society in community service, but I'm not giving you any money. It's not happening. And they still haven't got it yet. So, but yeah, I think not a ton of legendary stories. I think there was more legendary stories in juniors than there was in college, to be honest. But another good one, when we were in Florida, this is a good story. So we're in Florida in Fort Myers, and we played Saturday night, and we tied FGCU, which they were one of the best teams in the nation, which was huge. So we're all out at this bar on the beach, and we're all drinking pitchers, so we're all feeling pretty good, feeling buzzed up. And one of my teammates got checked really hard with hands to the face. Dan Pletta, if you know who that is, and he messed his face up, so he got some painkillers. So he's drinking a couple beers, nothing crazy, but he took some of those pills. Well, it hit him like a rock. So we're driving home. One of my goalies is still at the beach. We forgot a guy. My coach is getting yelled at on the phone. And Dan Pletta opens up. Coach is like, what are you doing, Dan? Why are you opening the door in a moving vehicle? He's like, just looking at the curb, coach. That was a good time for sure. And then we ended up going back and getting this kid. It was his birthday. He's walking barefoot down Fort Myers Beach. And basically we ended up going back to get him, slowed the thing down. One guy's puking in a cup in the back of the van. Everyone gets out and tries to jump in our van because we got two of them. We're like, no, get out. Well, then they try to throw the kid who puked in our van. It was a mess, dude. It was wild. I don't think any of the higher ups at Waldorf know about that to this day, but the coach is gone anyway, so we're good.
Kind of like sticking with Waldorf, kind of switching back to the hockey side of things. What was probably your favorite, I guess, if there's a game that sticks out to you, kind of reminisce about that. Otherwise, what was your favorite facility that you ever competed in?
Well, the Northern Michigan facility is really nice. And we competed there for a conference tournament. which was that was a nice facility. We were playing at their D1 rink, so we were in the the nice locker rooms, the big rink. If I had to say any game that stands out to me as far as my career goes, it would be winning the conference tournament my sophomore year. We're playing Robert Morris in the championship. We got a backup goalie came in. As a matter of fact, same guy who was walking down the street barefoot was our goalie that year because our number one goalie got hurt. Let's just call it what it is. He was the backup, and but he came in. He played lights out the whole tournament, and we ended up hoisting the trophy at the end of it. And we won 3-1. I don't even know if I think I maybe had an assist in the game or a point. I don't even remember, but I just remember the team played so well together. We were moving the puck well. We were on the same page. Defense was tight. We weren't given a lot of opportunities, and it was one of those games where, you've heard the expression, they're not going to give it to you, boys. Sometimes you got to go out there and take it. Well, we went out there and took it, and we went hard. We played it right, and we had a better team than them. That was the end of it, and we were better that day. So that was a really, really cool thing to be a part of, to feel like a champion. And we all went to Green Mill after, which is a restaurant in Albert Lea, and we all were, drinking beer. Everyone's parents were there. The coach took a shot at tequila. It was just a good time. Everyone was in a good mood. It's hard to beat that when you got such a tight family and you succeed together like that. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of like family and whatever, let's jump back to the Fort Wayne team that we had. Do you have any special memories, stories that you'd like to share from back then?
Oh man, there's a lot. I'm gonna be careful with what I tell. No, I'm just kidding. There was the one that's my favorite is a guy. He was a younger guy, and he came over and he wanted to hang out with the older guys and drink. Well, we're playing pool, we're having fun. It's kind of like in this, like barn outside these people's house. It's a really nice house. And they got pool in a chill area with couches, lounge area, all that stuff. And he's going heavy on the alcohol. None of us really knew that he was going so heavy. But all of a sudden, he's like stumbling around, and he goes face down on a couch, and we're like, oh, we're good. He's on the ottoman. He's passed out. We don't got to worry about him anymore. And he was face down. All of a sudden, we just hear this like gurgle of a stomach. We're like, oh, that was weird. And 3 seconds later, vomit is just pouring out of his mouth all over this ottoman. It's this red leather ottoman. It's just going everywhere. And I swear it was Taco Bell, dude. It had to have been Taco Bell because it's going everywhere. It is just disgusting. So we get it. We were like, no. So we try to grab him as quick as we can. And I remember one of my buddies is like holding him up. He's getting puke all over him. It's disgusting. I can't remember who that was, but we get him outside and we're like, you gotta strip down to your skivvies, dude. Like, you gotta get in your boxers. So we get him in his boxers, start hosing him off with the garden hose. We're hosing the ottoman off. It was wild times, but that was funny.
And do you remember that we dragged him across the driveway? Like, he fell down and he couldn't stand up, and we couldn't pick him up because he was so heavy, because we were pretty fucked up too. And we just grabbed him by the arms and we just dragged him, no shirt, across the fucking driveway into the grass before we hosed him.
He had some scratches on his belly and stuff. Yeah. Oh, wild, man, wild.
When your friend, when somebody's that drunk, that's basically dead weight too. Like you're saying, when you're fucked up, it's like 5 times heavier because you don't have all the strength that you do. So,
oh yeah, you deplete. That's another thing that a lot of athletes don't understand is you deplete your muscular enzymes so much after 3 drinks. It's not worth it. But yeah, we were definitely depleted in every muscular enzyme, and we did not have the strength to carry him. That's for sure. But it was a good time, and he survived. He's fine. I'm sure he's doing well to this day. But I was in Canada, and at the rookie party, I had a similar experience. We drank at this one dude's house, but we had to pass around like a big bottle. It said XXX on it, or whatever, like old school liquor bottle. and we had to pass it around, and we were playing games. Well, anyway, we go out to this gravel pit later, and I had never been that drunk in my life. I was so drunk that I literally fell backwards and hit my ass on the gravel. And like, I didn't remember anything, but this girl, this like team manager girl kind of a deal for the junior team, she got me home, put me in my bed, gave me a water, the whole bits. And I didn't remember any of it. It was kind of wild, but it was funny. I remember just falling straight backwards and being like, I've never had my balance off this much.
That's hilarious, dude. Speaking of like reminiscing in memories, I'm going to tell a story here that involves you here. I just want to see if you remember this exactly how I remember this. So this was one of the first days we were out in Oregon, and the team, we decided to go whitewater rafting, right? None of us are over age and whatever. And I forgot what it was. We ended up convincing the bus driver to buy us like 230 racks, I think it was. And we were going halfway down the trip or whatever. We're all pounding beers, and then we're all from the Midwest. Like the majority of our team is from the Midwest. So we were all fucked up because the change in elevation, you can only have like a couple beers and you're trashed out there because of the elevation. And we're out there just pounding beers. Halfway along, we stopped at a gas station, and I remember me and Cheech walked in, and we ended up no wallet or nothing, just had like $20, and we're just like, hey, can we get some more beer? He's like, yeah, sure. Got it, got back in. Everybody like took off, and it was like you, me, there was like 4 other people, so it was like us, and we had a full 30 rack to crushed it. And then we get back, and we're waiting for the bus to come pick us up. And I remember I was so hammered, dude. You carried me from the raft like Superman style, like your arms hooked underneath, and you were dragging me up the hill, walking backwards because I couldn't stand. I couldn't really stand. So my feet are dragging, and you're just working your way up, carrying me up. And then I was like, I gotta piss. And you're just like, all right, hold on, buddy. And you just like kickstanded, held me, and you pulled my pants down, and I just let her go right there. and then hold on. That's not even, it's not
time to drink like you guys were. So I was pretty sober because I was steering the boat at the back, and I was like, all right, someone's got to make sure we're alive here. So I wasn't drinking like everyone else was. I mean, I drank, but it wasn't like everyone else. But yeah, I remember like, yeah, all right, well, he's got to pee. What do you want me to do? So I like prop up against the bus, whip his pants on. I'm like, all right, you're good. Go ahead.
And then I remember the whole car ride back, me and somebody else was so messed up. We had our heads just hanging out the window in the back seat, like driving down the highway, just heads hanging out the window like dogs. And we got back to whoever's billet house it was that had the keg in the garage that let us play drunk driving all the time. Was that your billet house, right?
Yeah, that was my billet. Yeah.
I was so yep. And I was so trashed.
Front of the fridge.
I passed out in the bathroom, locked the door. And do you remember that they had to remove the door hinge? They had to take the hinges off to get the door off to see if I was still alive.
Remember that, dude? I was knocking on the door like, dude, are you alive? Are you all right? You were just passed. We finally got in there, and you're just passed out next to the toilet. Oh, that was great. So another good one I got from Canada was we're up in Canada. We just finished a game up, and we're driving home. You got to remember, this is a town of like 1,500 people. So the drive to the rink to your billet is literally 3 minutes long, if that, right? Like it's short. So we drive, we get pulled over by the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And we're like, what is going on? You know, and they come up and they're like, oh yeah, you guys think you're tough because you won tonight? You guys think you're NHLers? We're so sick of you guys walking around thinking you can do whatever you want in the town. Just being jerks for no reason. We were like, dude, we never talked to you. We didn't know who you are, you know? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But the team had went to the national tournament the year before and got runner-up at the national tournament. So they were the talk of the town, right? People were excited about this team. But anyway, so they messed with us, and it was this guy named Brady, and he was heavily involved in the community. He's the coach of the high school, but he's also our RCMP officer. So long story short, we're at the bar later that night, and I'm walking home at like 2 a.m. And I get this big red truck pulls up, probably was a 2500 or something. Nice truck too, looked nice and shiny. And all of a sudden, my buddies open the door. They're like, "Get in!" I'm like, "All right, yeah, it's cold. It's -30. Of course I'll get in." So we get in, and they're like, "We're going to egg Brady's house." And I was like, "Oh, that's a bad idea. Like that's a bad idea. We're doing it." I was like, "All right, whatever. I'm in. Count me in." So we get out. I remember my buddy threw my hood up over my head, threw his hood up, and he's like, "All right, we got to be careful. We can't, we got to make sure we conceal ourselves a little bit." So we go up and we start egging his house, throw like, 4 or 5 eggs. And he's like, "Should I egg his truck?" And I was like, no, not his truck. Please, not his truck. Like that's too far. So we didn't egg his truck. We ended up not doing that. And we just egged his house. Well, so we get out of there, we get in the car. Well, the next day at practice, our coach is like, "Whoever egged Brady's house better fess up right now." And me and the other guy who did it did not say a word because we were like, "Nah, that's bad. That's bad business right there. We're not just going to own up to it, right?" And we're American, right? So like when it comes to being American in Canada, they can just deport you if they want. I mean, not that you're going to get deported for something like that, but they could potentially do that if they wanted to. And mind you, I was 18 at the time. The drinking age legally in Saskatchewan was 19, but the bartender liked me because I was a player on the hockey team, so I was drinking at the bar. But anyway, long story short, a couple weeks go by. I get a call because I worked as a full-service gas attendant at the little small gas station there. I'm getting paid in Monopoly money, the Canadian money. It's all different colors. It's funky. But anyway, Canuck bucks. So I get a call from the RCMP sergeant, and he's like, "Hey, I just want to talk to you about something when you get done with work. So after you get done, why don't you plan on walking over? You'll probably be here about 2:15 if you got up at 2. Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." He's like, "All right, see you then, eh?" So I go over there, and I'm like, "Man, I know exactly what this is about, right?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I don't know what to do." And he's like, "Listen, those guys were dicks to you. I know they were dicks to you. As long as you're honest with me, no repercussions will happen." And I'm like, well, that's pretty much an invitation to be honest, right? Unless this guy's really working one over on me and he's not going to keep his word. But usually when a guy says he's going to keep his word, he's gonna, right? So I was like, "Yeah, we did it, man." I was like, we egged his house. And, the reason we did it is because we didn't like the way he was treating us. And we were upset with it. He's like, "I get it. I totally get it." He's like, "Here's how we're going to do it. I want you guys to go clean his house off. And you just got to meet with him, and you guys are going to say you're sorry to each other. He's going to say sorry too because he wasn't acting right." So we meet up. It's water under the bridge. We move on. Everything's good to go. We apologize. We go clean up a little of the egg. No big deal. We're all good. But that could have been a lot worse now that I think back on it.
Yeah, like you said, like I doubt you'd get deported for egging, but it's like I feel like that'd almost be a fun follow-up story of like down the road, somebody's like, "Oh, let's go to Canada." It's like, "Oh, I can't. I'm not allowed back in the country."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What'd you do? Kill a man? No, I egged the guy's house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I egged the cop's house. That just sounds dumb, to be honest.
Mhm.
But hey, young and dumb. I obviously wasn't in my right mind when I got picked up, so that was part of it. But yeah, I did go try out in the I don't know if Allard filled you in on this, but I did go try out in the Federal Hockey League a couple of years after I was done with Waldorf. And I actually got invited to the Watertown Wolves, Watertown, New York main camp, but I decided not to go. And looking back at it, I'm really happy I decided not to go, was because COVID happened and they sent everyone home that year and they didn't even get to finish their season. So imagine working that hard, moving to a different state, you're playing hockey for, 6 months, and then you get sent home at the end of it. You don't even get a chance to play for a championship, playoffs, nothing. I mean, that would have been pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the NHL, they're the I think out of between the NHL, the NBA, and the NFL, they're the most strict league, which is nice to see. Just kind of how they moved stuff up to Canada for last year, and this year it's like in division only and stuff. So it's nice to see them kind of, I guess, having all these protocols in place and kind of handling it differently. But take a step below that, all these other leagues, I can't remember which one you said, Austin. Was
OHL.
the OHL completely shut down? All these young guys that are trying to make a name for themselves, that are basically getting paid enough money to make rent and put food in their fridge every month, and that's it. And all of a sudden, all these opportunities are wiped away from them. So I can't imagine being at that level, trying to stay confident to work your way up to the highest level when you're worrying about day-to-day expenses because now your league is shut down.
Well, right. And to that point, I don't know if you guys heard about the high school hockey tournament here, but White Bear Lake and Hill Murray played in a section championship game, right? You win that, you go to the state tournament. Well, one of the players on White Bear Lake had COVID. So Hill Murray had to forfeit the tournament because they had players that potentially were exposed to COVID. So here's the really interesting part. They took a case against the Minnesota State High School League to an appeals court. And they lost that appeals court. The judge ruled against them, but they actually put it into court. 9 seniors for the Hill Murray team went to court to say, we should be able to compete in the state tournament. This is crazy. You know, there was one guy that tested positive for it. That doesn't mean he necessarily spread it. That doesn't mean it's going to be deadly for any of us young, healthy athletes. There's a lot of reason why that's really concerning that they did that. Well, the other thing is they could have potentially cost them money. Like you were, to your point, how are you going to put food on the table? Well, these high school students, they legitimately get scouted by NHL scouts at the high school state hockey tournament. And if not NHL, which I know they're there, there's definitely a lot of D1 coaches looking to get the next player. And, a lot of people say, well, if they're good enough, they'll make it. One game can change your name. It really can. One game, you play well enough, and at the state tournament on that stage, you make yourself a name, and now you're sought after. People want you. People remember you, right? I mean, how many scenes have we seen of that before where one guy has a fantastic game, he gets some notoriety, and it carries him through his career? I mean, it happens all the time.
Casey Middlestat.
You still got to be good.
Yeah, Casey Middlestat from I don't know who he played for, probably Edina.
I think he played for Blaine, I think he's from Ham Lake. I can't remember for sure though, actually.
But anyway, he played for one of the powerhouse schools that always are right there. And now look at him. They changed coaches in Buffalo, even their shitty season, and he's tearing it up here at the end of the year, Like one game, like you said, all 32 NHL teams at least have one person of their personnel in that building for the Minnesota State Hockey Tournament every single year, because it's like the top kids in the country playing against each other, which is really crazy to think that so many kids are from one state that are playing at that level. That's just insane to think that, like, we're from Wisconsin. There's maybe a handful of guys who are good enough every year. Where in Minnesota, you could probably put teams full of guys to move on.
Make up about of the NHL, and then the Canadians make up about 55%. So 60% of the NHL is from Canada and Minnesota, which is unbelievable. But they're hockey hotbeds, Minneapolis. Here's the thing about Minneapolis that's so crazy. You can play open hockey every day of the week against good hockey players. I mean, you can legitimately get good ice time by paying $6 at the public rink and go and play an open hockey. It's crazy.
Yeah, you can't do that here.
Or you can't do that in a lot of places. I mean, even there's places in Canada that they don't keep the ice in year round, but they do here, and you can literally pay, $6 to $8 and skate for an hour and a half, 2 hours
against really good guys too.
Yeah, against players that actually know how to play the game and pass the puck and shoot. And, it's definitely an area that you got a lot of training facilities, you got a ton of rinks, and they maintain them well. We've been doing it for years. So
kind of, I guess, moving to the NHL level, the top level, couple, I guess, favorites questions for you. Who is your favorite hockey player? Who's your favorite team, which those two might coincide with each other? And then with the Stanley Cup playoffs just a couple weeks away, who do you got taking it all this year?
Yeah, so I would say favorite player is going to be Patrick Kane. I really just I love the way he plays. I love the heart he plays with, the passion. And then as far as my favorite team is going to be the Minnesota Wild, just because I got to go hometown on that one. But as far as who's going to take it all this year, I haven't really thought about that much. But if I had to pick a team that's looked good to me this year and in the past, I would say it's the Wild. I really think they got a shot to win a cup this year. Now they have that second round curse that they got going where they can't get past the second round or the first round of the playoffs or the second round. They have once. They went to the conference final, and I believe it was 2003, and they ran into Jagier with the big pads. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Anaheim.
NHL actually cool on that because pads were so big. And the Wild couldn't score in that 7-game series. It was unbelievable. But anyway, I think the Wild are going to take it. I really do. I think they got Kirill the Thrill. That Kirill Kaprizov is a fantastic player. He can move really well. He's electric with the puck. But the biggest thing that's impressed me with him this year is not only his scoring ability, but his ability to see the ice and put other guys in good positions. That's such an underrated talent in hockey. And a lot of guys can't figure it out. I don't know what it is, but that really it matters, and he's really good at it.
Oh yeah, that's like the Ovechkins, the Crosbys, the McDavids, creating space for everybody else to get open because you're that good. He reminds me of a Crosby when he was young, dude. Like the way that he moves around the ice, and yeah, he really has a knack for seeing the game. Sure, he just scored again last night. I want to say.
I would believe it. The guy is.
He's unreal. You hear his name every day.
I mean, how many opportunities have we seen already this year of him mohawking around the neck to his forehand and getting a nice shot in the slot, scoring many of them? But you don't get that opportunity without that skating ability. And a lot of guys just don't focus on the edge work and the skating. I mean, even pros probably get a little lackluster in it, but you got to practice that stuff. It's so important.
Well, we got to experience that change in hockey. We were right on that edge of where it changed. We were like the last group of like somewhat like the tough guys who still had a chance to where there was fighting all the time. You had the tough guys on your team, and now you really don't. Everybody's got to be able to skate, shoot, score, and potentially, like those bigger guys now have a harder time, I think, making it to the NHL because bigger guys aren't as, agile and as quick as some of these smaller kids. And you're starting to see a lot of these smaller guys start moving up who can just fucking bury the puck. Like, I don't know if you got a chance to see Cole Caulfield. Do you know who that is? Hobie Baker?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Hobie Baker winner. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He's tiny, dude. And tiny kid, great skater, great vision, and he's just like a natural goal scorer.
Well, the dude's got a cannon too. I mean, the dude shoots the puck. It's like a laser coming off the end of his stick, and that's exactly what you want. But a lot of guys, you remember Shaquille O'Neal? He wasn't the best free point shooter, but he worked on it and practiced it and got better at it. I mean, that's just what you got to do. If you want to have a good shot, get in the garage, shoot pucks. Get on rollerblades, get the same height, have it be the same look. Get out there, shoot. If you're not moving pucks as a hockey player, meaning gathering them up to go put them at the end so you can shoot them, you're not going to succeed in hockey because there's going to be a guy who's willing to push pucks. He's going to be willing to push those pucks to the back and shoot them all off and get better and better. And it's going to show on the ice. It will. And how easy is it to set up a shooting gallery these days? You throw up a tarp and you get on rollerblades, you start shooting some pucks, with a little pad. Doesn't cost a lot of money. You don't need to have it to be fancy. You just do it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been really impressed with that guy. He actually plays with a guy, his name's Roman Ashan, went to Burnsville High School. And actually, funny story, I used to umpire this guy in baseball because that was my summer college job. I used to umpire baseball and, in the tournaments, summer games, all that. I used to umpire for him. He was always just the most charming kid and really nice and friendly. And he's doing really well at the University of Wisconsin. So hats off to that guy. And he seems like a class act too. His brother played at St. Cloud State and he's playing for Providence, Rhode Island right now, which is, the farm team for the Bruins.
Yeah, the hockey community is really small. It's the one thing. Like I said, when I had my buddy Chase Drake on, he played for the Badgers. He was a captain there. It's like you can almost walk in any rink in the United States and almost at least know one person that's going to be in the rink.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah, it's crazy.
It's small. That's another point of, young players, mind your P's and Q's, because people talk in the hockey world. They really do. I mean, the word travels extremely fast. Coaches always told us that, and I'm glad they did, because it's true. The hockey world's not that big. It's really not. And the world's small, Jen. Even the small world experience of my best buddy becoming friends with one of my junior teammates. I mean, that's a small world experience. Like, people talk, people meet each other. It's, mind your P's and Q's on and off the ice, because you just don't want to put yourself at a disadvantage for a future career opportunity. And in the hockey world, there's people, it's a cutthroat game too. If you don't think people are watching you, waiting for you to mess up so that, they can talk a little smack to put, their self above them, above you. Because at the NHL level, not that I was ever even close to that, but at the NHL level, guys are getting paid millions of dollars over this stuff. People are going to take it seriously. It's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, and we have firsthand experience of how fast word travels in the hockey world. With that whole experience with what we went through, it was a matter of days. And
everyone knew we got traded, that's for sure. So I mean, it's one of those things where word travels fast. But yeah, to your buddy's point, someone at every rink. Even if you're playing in Minnesota, like you guys know Brock Nelson for the Islanders, right?
Yep, I know who he is.
When I was training real hard, I'm walking into the rink, and all of a sudden I look, I'm like, that guy's got an Islanders bag, and he looks a lot like Brock Nelson. I was like, oh, that is Brock Nelson. And I kind of gave him the head nod. He head nodded me back. Didn't seem like a guy that was super full of himself. He seemed like a really nice guy, a gentleman, and it was just coming to train. And he had his hockey bag and ready to go. And I mean, he's a good player. He's proved that. He's working hard in the offseason. You can tell.
So speaking of off-season activities here, do you have any other stories you'd like to share with the podcast here, of stories that you've experienced over the course of playing hockey, just meeting people?
Yeah, I mean, just my experience at Minnesota hockey camps. I trained at MHC for a whole summer before my senior season, and that was just a fantastic experience. You're skating twice a day, like I said, you're working out all the time, and it was just a really good time. I got to meet a bunch of Russian players, which one of my favorite stories is, so there was this guy, Maxim Zukov, and he got drafted by the LA Knights. He's a great player. He played for the Green Bay Gamblers, so close, not super close to you guys, but in your state. And he was a good guy. But anyway, every time I scored on him, I'm going, yeah, baby, just to get in his face a little bit. So then every time he started stopping a puck in his Russian accent, he'd be like, yeah, baby. So, I mean, that was just a little fun thing. But yeah, I had a blast, man. And, they said you couldn't have cell phones at the hockey camp. And I was the counselor. I said, listen, boys, I'm going to let you guys have your cell phones in here. Just don't mess around. This is before Minnesota USA Hockey came out with actual rules about this stuff. But I said, hey, I trust you guys. You guys are 16 to 20 years old. You can have your cell phones. Just don't be taking pictures of each other and stuff like that. I don't want to worry about that. I don't want to get in trouble. So, but it's kind of crazy how that's changed too. I mean, the dynamic of hockey between COVID, people are wearing masks to the rink. They're wearing masks, playing hockey. I mean, it's a different hockey world. And I honestly can say I don't envy these young athletes in today's world versus the world we played in. It was very loose. People trusted each other, and there was a sense of community behind the hockey community. I feel like that's dwindling a little bit, and it's kind of becoming an elitist sport too, with how expensive things are.
Yeah, that's the one downfall with prices. It almost seems like they're going up for hockey, and more people, like, you just look at the way that average costs for jobs, they're going down, and costs for things are going up. So eventually it's going to reach a point where people aren't going to be able to afford to play hockey. So it's really important for these NHL guys to stick around their communities and really get involved and make hockey easily accessible. Like in Canada, I like listening to Spin Chicklets, and even like in Arizona, where you have a huge hotbed of hockey players right now. A lot of ex-guys who played for the Coyotes just stayed there and got involved in the youth programs, getting people involved to skate. And that's how you do it. St. Louis, you have a lot of like the Chucks, they stayed around there and getting involved. And that's kind of how you do it. It almost seems like you have that in Minnesota as well. A lot of guys who played for the North Stars when they were there, or the early Wild teams who have retired. Minnesota's a great place to live if you can handle the winters, and the cold sometimes, just like it is here in Wisconsin. But it's the hotbed for hockey, you know what I mean? So I feel like you have a lot. If a lot of players start sticking around after they're done with the game, try to get these kids involved, and like you said, bring more people to the game. Because I would agree with what you said. It seems like the community aspect of it is dwindling a little bit.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's still community there. Like, and that's the great thing about hockey is, you can go, you can play a game with, like even last night, we play with, some older guys, some younger guys, good mix of bags. Everyone goes out and has a beer after, everyone's talking. It's just the experience that I enjoy in hockey, like when it's competitive, that was its own deal. And it was super fun, playing competitive hockey. But now that it's more men's league, it's just, I feel like I'm more experience based now, where I'm like, I just want to go there and, get to know people. But it's kind of weird because you got, rules, they're coming out with rules and they're saying, oh, you can't come in without a mask, you got to dress in your car, all this stuff. And we get there at the game one, and people are in the locker room, no mask on the ice, no mask in the locker room. And it's kind of like, we're almost all living in this charade of we're all going to do the same thing as far as wearing the mask and trying to be careful, but no one's actually doing it. It's kind of like we're all just believing this thing, but not actually following through at any level. It's weird. It's a weird paradigm.
Yeah, I think the vaccines too also gave people if I get the vaccine, I don't have to worry about anything type of deal. So you have people just going ham, people who've got the vaccines, and it's just like, it's not the way it works, people. like
Yeah, it's well, even that Rob, like I was telling you about that NHL player that I was watching his interview earlier, and he was saying he's got type 1 bipolarism, and he's saying basically this is not helping me. Like I need to be with people. I need my community. And it's what sense of community are you going to get by telling, your fellow man that he's a potential death threat for you? It's not good for our community to be acting like this, in my opinion. But, I always try to ask people like, hey, if you were the governor, right? You're the governor of Minnesota, you're Tim Walz right now. Are you going to open it up? I haven't had a single person tell me they're going to keep it shut down. Not a single person. And I work at Verizon. I've met a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life.
You can't keep thinking, it's gone on almost long enough to where we almost are at that point where we might not bounce back. A lot of these businesses and stuff might not. They've been on hold for so long now. Like hockey teams folding, universities losing sports teams, clubs, all this type of stuff, which is huge. Like think if you're one of those kids that's in the position, you have a scholarship to a school and COVID happened. So obviously the year gets canceled. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, your sport doesn't exist here anymore, buddy. We're going to have to take your scholarship back, and you're going to have to find a different place to go to school because we just can't afford to do it anymore. This whole COVID thing on sports has really caused a huge question mark on where this is all kind of going to go. It's a lot of question marks and no one really seems to know the answers. Like if you look at the NFL, they kind of just do whatever the fuck they want without asking anybody anything. They're their own government. The NHL obviously they're not as big as the NFL, so they kind of can't do that. But
well, they do have the richest fan base though. The NHL has the richest fan base out of any of the 4 major sports.
That's because it costs so much to play, right?
Yeah, kind of back to the elitist sport thing. It is a little bit of an elitist sport, but at the same time, playing hockey does not have to be expensive. Like I said, you can buy stuff and play it again. That's where, my brother, I just told you guys that he's a goalie originally. he's playing player men's league because he couldn't find a slot because there's only 4 teams in the men's league when there was normally 6, right? So he didn't sign up in time, doesn't get a spot, so he signs up a player. You don't need to buy super expensive equipment. Go to Play It Again Sports, buy used stuff. You can get a full equipment setup for, $200 used, if you really bargain shop,
Right.
And then you can go play open hockey for $6 in Minneapolis. Now that's a very specific, but if you're in the Twin Cities area, there's no excuse for, money's not the issue if you want to get out and play some puck.
Yeah,
and there's no right too. I mean, if you're in the Midwest and all.
Yeah, Wisconsin's kind of there's not so much of that really. There's not really that many Play It Again Sports, stuff like that, to really get any of the gear. There's not too many hockey shops. Like, I know you go to Minnesota, you can, like, living in central Wisconsin, the only skate sharpening place that you can go, people have to drive an hour and 15 minutes to get their skate sharpened.
Jeez, yeah, that's not even fathomable.
Yeah.
Fathomable guy like me, like, I'm in the country and I don't even have to drive that far. I'm not even around that many good things, and I only have to drive 20 minutes.
Yeah, I remember kids growing up playing against who grew up in Monaco, which is like an hour and 15 minutes north of where I grew up. And yeah, they would have to make the trek all the way down to Wausau to get their skate sharpened, because that's the only pro shop. Literally, the next closest one is Superior. So that's a hike from Monaco up to Superior. That's like 2 hours. And then Green Bay's got one, Madison's, and then Eau Claire. So it's pretty much spread out all over the state. And the access isn't really, like, I just look at the high school that I even went to. They're charging kids now to play hockey, like $250 to play in high school. I didn't have to pay a dime to play in high school because we had the kids going out for sports, and kids aren't going out for sports and stuff anymore, dude. It's
I mean, kids in COVID, they're like, they feel like they can almost give up on life. I don't have to go to school. I'm online. I don't really feel like doing it. I'd rather sit here and play Xbox. Everyone's telling me to stay at home, so I'm not supposed to get out and enjoy life. But there's a big bad world out there that's full of enjoyment and excitement. And, we have a duty to ourselves to live our lives the way we want to, in a way that is fulfilling, right? I mean, meaningful relationships, meaningful work. Who doesn't want that, right? And if you don't, you got to reevaluate yourself, because it's just under COVID, when you shut everything down, it's not possible to have the opportunities that we need people to have, and the other thing is, a lot of people talk about, the old folks and keeping them safe. I'm all about that. Please, if they feel like they need to be quarantined, by all means do it. But you don't get to rob the rest of our lives, no matter what age you are, because of someone being at risk. Because here's the fact of the matter: someone's always at risk. That's not going to end, But I mean, I've definitely moved away from. I still love playing hockey, and I do it for enjoyment now. I do it for the exercise. I do it for the competition, the camaraderie. There's so many reasons I do it. But I've had this weight lifted off of my shoulders to not have to impress anyone to do it. I'm not trying to impress anyone or do anything that's outside of me. I'm comfortable in who I am, and I have so many dreams outside of hockey at this point now, where it's nice to go play hockey just to play hockey and kind of clear my mind of things, as it should be. It's a game at the end of the day,
Yeah, and that's one thing, looking back at it, don't you wish you kind of had that mindset before you started the whole junior journey, is just being comfortable with yourself, knowing who you are, and playing to how you can play, and not having these other expectations of, I got to play this good because this guy's in the building tonight. I got to get this, that's a lot of weighted pressure that athletes all over the board, especially hockey players, because it's really hard to move to get to that NHL, to get to that elite level. It's so hard. You have to be basically the top, probably 2, 3, 10 kids maybe in your age group in the country to get a sniff.
It's like 0.0000007% of players make it to the NHL. I mean, there's so many hockey players that do not make it, and there's so many excellent hockey players that don't make it. I've seen great hockey players that never got a sniff in the NHL. One guy I play with in men's league, he got his eye taken out in the Federal Hockey League. Some guy jabbed him with his stick, took his eye out. The dude plays with one eye, and he's better than anyone out there. I'm not kidding. He is phenomenal.
Jeez.
Yeah, one eye, and the dude is he's making stuff happen. He's dangling, he's dancing, and he's got a shot too. So it's one of those things where, life is exciting, and we got to get back to living it, in my opinion. And that's true for the NHL too. That's true for the NBA. That's true for the NHL. I mean, these guys have a right while they're young and healthy to be able to make the money that they can make. To be able to perform and do the show, because it's a great show. It really is. The NHL, you got fighting, you got, big hits, you got people battling, you got scoring goals. I mean, it's exciting across the board. There's never a dull moment in hockey for me when I watch an NHL game.
Right. And then speaking of fighting, you remember that big old tussle we had in Worcester?
Oh yeah, where I tried to run away a little bit. You had to go tackle the guy, and I had to fight him anyway.
Oh man, that was a good one. That was a great.
I just remember skating away and seeing you come and be like, boom, and just hammer it, dude. And I was like, geez, this just got real. And then all of a sudden, me and this dude square up, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm fighting him because he's grabbing me. So we start fighting, and we're punching each other. And I remember, I think I tried to take him down or something. But the best fight I ever had, in my opinion, was at South St. Paul Ice Arena, where Doug Woog played, who used to comment on the Gophers' new Fox Sports North. But anyway, so we're there, and I get out on the ice, and no one changes. And this kid was talking trash to me on the other team. So I'm like, oh, crap, I got to go back to my bench where he's right there. And I'm like, I'm going to look like such a wuss if I don't fight this guy. So I'm like, he's like, you want to go? Let's do it. And I just dropped my stuff, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I got a hold of him, and I got the grab real well, and I kind of pinned his arm a little bit, and I just started bombing him 3 times in the face, dude, as hard as I could, connecting too. And it was right in front of our benches. And then I knew I got a couple good shots on him, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for the takedown because I don't really want to actually get punched here. So I go for the takedown and take him down. And the funny story is Austin Allard. I believe you know the guy. I believe he's one of your friends, actually.
Yeah, he's actually my best buddy, best man in the wedding. It was funny after that happened. He called me. He's like, dude, I think I met your buddy Spencer. And I was like, oh yeah, how was that? And he's like, I think I fought him, and he got me good.
I did get him good. I didn't want to fight him. I really didn't, because he's a pretty big boy, actually. Like he's got that. He had that attitude where I was like, this guy just seems like he fights a lot. I really don't want to mess with him.
He's got that switch. He's got the switch where he gets angry and he blacks out. So anything can happen. Anything can happen, dude. He can hurt somebody really bad, or
like I said, I did not want to fight him, but I was like, I can't get back in that bench without fighting him. I just can't. So, but it was a good Tilly. And I remember after some of my teammates were like, oh, you got that guy good. And then all of a sudden he walks in to go shower, because we were kind of sharing showers at the tournament. Like some locker rooms had him, some didn't. But I was like, yeah, he doesn't want that smoke again or something. And he walked out the other way, the other locker room after his shower. I never saw him again. It was kind of funny, but I was just talking smack to have fun. I mean, that's the thing that's the other cool thing about hockey is, you can fight a guy. I'll take you out for a beer, and even I would still take that guy out for a beer, and I'd be happy to, shoot the shit with them and have a good time and take him out for a beer. Cause that's how hockey is. You fight, you go have a beer after, and that's how it should be.
You'll see him at the bachelor party and the wedding. So definitely have the opportunity to get him a couple beers.
Sweet. I look forward. I bet
yeah, he is. He's a great dude. He's a great dude. Just like everybody I've ever met really in the hockey world is pretty much the kids you stay around, I should say. The kids who end up making it and don't get traded or cut or whatever. Pretty much everybody who ends up making it through is pretty much a good guy for the most part. And then last question here before we let you go. Who was the greatest hockey player that you got to play with during your time of playing?
Let me clarify. Practice with or actually play alongside of on a team?
I actually played on a team with.
Oh, man. I mean, honestly, for me, it's pretty easy. It was Cody Hess. I would have taken that guy. And I played high school in Minnesota. I played good hockey all over. I played junior B in Saskatchewan, junior A a little bit. bounce around there. But dude, Cody Hess, I mean, the things he could do with the puck, it was untouchable. You couldn't match his talent and his mind working and calculating so fast. And that's the other thing is his central nervous system was a part of how good of a hockey player he was. Like he knew how to do everything so well and how to just put himself in advantage. And he's smart. That's the other thing is a lot of the game is up here. A lot of people don't think that, but it is. Don't get me wrong. You got to train, you got to have the talent, but he was able to shoot the puck where he wanted it to. He was able to freeze a goalie and step aside and shoot high. I mean, he just had those little moves and little jerks and, manipulations of the body to always put himself in the best opportunity. And he scored, I mean, how many points did the guy have? 110?
Yeah, something like that. It was insane.
110 points in 1 year. And I actually had 56 points as a defenseman that year for Fort Wayne, my 19-year-old year that we played. But he scored a goal on my 50th point, and I scored a goal on his 100th point. So that was pretty cool that year that we both got a goal for like a milestone point mark,
Yeah, I remember us three combined. We had over 200 points total.
Oh, I believe that.
I had 52.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And I tell Collin too of just how good of a hockey player Cody was. Like I put him in my top 3 of kids who I've played with. Just for the like I said, those nuances. He played those little mind games with you, and he'd win every single time. He'd get you thinking about something, and he'd do something completely else, and the puck would be in the net, and it'd just be like, wow, like this kid is unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember in the tournament up in Kalakaska when we were playing the Chicago Bulldogs. Do you remember him toe dragging that one guy, and then the guy came sliding at him on both shin pads, laying down flat like this. He just toe drags right around him, goes in, shoots, scores. And it was like an unbelievable, it's Sports Center should be in the background. Da-da-da, da-da-da. And, he's just like, yeah, I did it, whatever. But he did that stuff all the time.
Every game he had to play like that. Yeah.
And he didn't get his fair shake in the pros either. I mean, he went over to Europe, but they cut him down right away. But the lockout happened. I mean, you don't have a lockout. That's another thing. You got to get lucky, too. You don't have a lockout that year for Cody Hess over in Europe. He makes that Utsi team. He's playing in the Czech Republic, and he's doing well.
Scoring against Yager.
In the AHL. Maybe he gets a signing with an NHL or two-way contract. You never know, right? It could go anywhere after that. So it's, the lockout, it really does have an effect on the lower leagues because the guys come down, and it has a trickle-down effect. It really does.
Yep. Where the top guys come down, kick the top guys from that league down to the league below, the top guys get kicked down again. And the kids who are in the middle or the bottom, sorry, maybe some other life.
Yeah. So, but he has a different situation there. And I think I know he could have played at the pros. I know he could easily play in the ECHL, AHL, and I think he would do well in the NHL too. I really do.
Agreed. I think he could have made it to the NHL. And we're actually having Cody on the podcast here. So
that'd be a great one.
Yep, that'll be cool for him to tell that whole story himself, from his own words of how that whole thing kind of shook down. And since we know him pretty well, it's awesome to hear, especially for how good of a hockey player he is. It's going to be really cool to hear, that whole story.
Oh yeah, he had a good time over in Europe, and his wife, his fiance at the time, went over and moved over. What a solidifying experience in life for, a life partner, as far as you guys move to a different country together and you're playing hockey. And I mean, that's just great.
Yeah.
He's got a good family though. I really like his family, and he's up as a small business owner. So he's doing really well for himself, and I'm really proud of him. And like I said, that's good on him. He's great at hockey, but he's good at other things too.
Yeah, he's a great kid. But yeah, dude, if you didn't have anything else to share, any stories or anything here, I know you got a couple minutes here before you gotta leave here.
Oh man, I'm trying to think.
I know the one that you shared through text was the riding through the mountains.
Oh yeah, do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
So yeah, we got in a car with this crazy girl.
2 of them.
And we're like, she was really nice. She was super sweet. And we're like, oh, this is great. We're going to go to a party with these girls. They're picking us up, like we're in a new state, super exciting. And this girl starts driving like Danica Patrick in the mountains. And we're going up, down, around, all around. And she's flying like 70, 80. And Allard and I are like clicking our seatbelts in, looking at each other. Like, dude, we're not riding home with this girl. There's no way. Like, it was just seemed like a recipe for disaster. I was like in the back almost praying, like, oh, please help me live.
I remember we grabbed it. We buckled up. We grabbed hands and we were holding hands. We were holding onto the fucking little bars. We're just like, dude, if we don't make it, at least we were together, buddy. Like, because she was doing like 70 hairpin turns, dude. Yeah, in the mountains, no guardrails. And it's just like, what in the fuck is this lady on?
Yeah, it was nothing. She was high on life, man, just driving. It was crazy.
That was absolutely insane.
Yeah, that was bonkers, man. I just remember being super scared, but it was a beautiful area out there, and I had a really good time out there. I mean, it was fun. And then do you remember the owner's house on top of the mountain that overlooked Medford, and he had the pool,
and he had the helicopter,
German Shepherd, yeah,
the helicopter.
Yeah, there was some money in that team for sure.
Yeah, they're actually for sale right now.
Yeah, I saw that actually.
Let's buy them, dude.
Yeah, hey, as soon as the podcast takes off and you guys are making millions, let me know. I'll be part owner with you guys.
Absolutely, buddy. That'd be a dream to own a sports team.
I've always wanted to be a general manager.
Yep, that'd be the dream. But yeah, buddy, thanks again for your time of coming on. It was awesome having you on here, Collin. I don't know if you had any wrap up questions for him.
No, I mean, yeah, thanks again for coming on, man. It's always good to hear stories from every different walk of life. I mean, I didn't grow up playing hockey. I just recently came into the sport about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's nice to hear these stories and kind of just learn the little pieces that I guess I would never ask or know about unless you have people like you on. So yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Oh, hey, I really appreciate you guys having me. It's been a pleasure, and I've really enjoyed just talking about hockey and sharing some of the knowledge that I have, because I do have quite a bit of knowledge about hockey, the leagues, how they work, and I definitely really care about the sport. I've loved the sport since I was born. I mean, even when the way my mom used to get me to do chores is she'd play goalie for me in the net. Yeah, so I got potty trained literally from being able to score goals and shoot pucks on the net in the garage. So I mean, I've always loved hockey. It's a huge part of my life, and I really appreciate you guys having me on, giving me a platform to talk about it.
Yeah, well, glad to have you on, and definitely can potentially have you on again here sometime down the road if that all works out and whatever. But other than that, yeah, I'll see you at my bachelor party, and then that should be in a couple months here, so that should be a good time.
I look forward to it, man. It's gonna be exciting.
All right, man, you have a great one, and thanks again.
Hey, thanks guys, take care.
See ya.